Okay, this video is going to be on creating queries, and then from that query creating a report. Now, the first thing that I want to do is explain to you why we create queries. So before you create a report or a labels or an extract, the first thing that you need to do is to create a query. Now, the reason for this is very simply because, if I just move this part out of the way, a table is made up of a lot of data. So a table, well, the database has got tables in, and those tables have got an extreme amount of data in. So if you think of all this being one of the tables in your database, okay, you have all this data in here, you may want to produce a report which shows or displays some of this data, so not all of it. So you might need, for example, this one, this one, this one, and this one. So these 4 records only. And to do this, you will first need to decide, what do you want to filter your table on? Do you want to find all the people, all the male students in the school, for example? Do you want to find all the people that play football? Do you want to find all the people that are in the, say, year 11 male, and they're part of the hockey team? So these questions are known as your query. So basically what we do, we create a query, and then after we apply this, for example, male, year 11, and they play hockey, then what you're left with is a smaller table, and this is basically the results of running this query. So this table, you run the query, and what you're left with is this. Now, how you display this is the result of your query. How you display this, you can either make a report to display the data in a nicer way. You may want to create an extract, which is nothing more than simply copy pasting into Word, Excel, something like that. Or you may want to produce labels, because you may have, say, address details here. You want to send all these people, the males in year 11 in the hockey team, you may want to send them a letter, and instead of writing the address and personalizing the address, you might want to do create labels so that you can stick them on envelopes. So we're going to focus on this video, how to create queries and how to produce a report based on the query. And we're going to look at these two in separate videos. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is have a look at the question that we're going to be working on. So here's my question. Now, so there's my question there. Now, this is a typical question. This is actually a very good question. There's 2 very nice query reports in this paper. So let's have a look and see what we would be expected to do. So the question first says, you want to show all the fields, and these are the fields that we want. So we need to highlight or underline these fields. So we want the type of the tree, the thickness, the width, the length, when they're ready, if they're sold, and their price in this order. Now, this is very important, okay? You need to make sure you do that. Okay, so this will be part of the query, because this is part of the process where we're filtering the table, the table to the results. Then it contains a new field which is calculated at runtime. Now, runtime is this process here. That's when this query here runs. This here is known as the runtime. Okay, so that's your runtime, this process here. Okay, that's when the queries run and they're being executed to filter all of this to give you this. That's known as runtime. So when this runs, we want to add a new field, add field, which is created automatically and will probably be added somewhere at the end in the result. So I'm just going to make that in blue to see that's an addition. Okay, that's another field, and this is usually the result of either multiplying or adding or doing something with 1 or 2 other fields. Okay, something like a total from a quantity multiplied by price. Okay, so if we go back, so we're going to have our new field which is going to, now that's going to be done at the query because that's part of the runtime. Shows only the records where ready is no and sold is yes. So we want that, ready is no and sold is yes. And this is part of the filtering again. So again, this is part of the query. Has all data and labels fully visible. Now this is how it's displayed. So that's going to be part of my report. Has a page orientation, again, how it's displayed, that's report. Fits on a single page wide report. Sorts the data into year milled, then location. So this is sorting. I'm going to put that in the report as well while I'm creating the report. Calculates the total value of the selected board. So basically, after all the results have come out of our query, we want to produce a report, and at the end of the report, so let's say this is my report and I've got some values here from the results. At the bottom down here, at the end of the report, I want to add all of these, okay, these values here. So this is going to be part of the report. This is a data which is in the table. So again, calculates the total value, that's going to be part of the report. Displays this value below the price column. So this here is probably the price column. Okay, so that's going to be part of the report. Displays this value as currency. Again, because we create this thing, this totals here in the report, that's going to be part of the report. Has a label to the left. That means we're going to write a little description here saying what this number is. So again, part of the report. Includes the report title, so that'll be a title at the top, report, and has just name, center number, and the rest of this to appear on that page. So on each page, we'll put that in the header or the footer. I'm going to put that in the footer. So that's part of the report. So the first thing I need to do is this part here, which is the query. Set up my query, which is going to filter all of this, which is going to filter basically my data to give me this here. And then I will focus on creating the report. Okay, so let's go back. And from here, I've got my database. Now, this is one which I use to create the relationships on. So to create a query, I'm going to go to Create Query in Design View. And from here, I'm going to add my 3 tables. Now, I had there were 3 tables with 2 relationships. So I'm going to add the 3 tables because this is, and I'm going to close this. And just to make this look neater, I'm going to move that around, expand these so I can see all the items, all the fields in each table. There we go. And I'm going to add the items it wants. So from my question paper, it said it wanted, I'll open the question paper from here now, and it says it wants the name of the location, board ID, type of tree. So the location, hang on, where are we? We want shows fields where the tree was milled. So first I want where it was milled. Be very careful with this. I'm going to highlight that there. Where when the tree was milled. So I go to here, and to find when the tree was milled, I'm going to find that here, year milled. So I'm going to double click on that, and it's going to add that field there. And then I'm going to continue with the rest of them. The name of the location, so I want the name, not the ID. So the name of the location, that's the location code, there's the location. I'm just going to run this quickly to see that I'm getting some results. There we go, the year it was milled and the name of the location. Okay, so moving on quickly, the board ID and the type of tree. So I want the board ID and type of tree. There's the board ID. And I want the type of tree, that's in this table here, the tree type. The thickness, the width, length, thickness, width, length, ready, sold, and price. Ready, sold, and price. Now I'm adding these in order as I'm finding them. Okay, so I practically covered the fact that it wants it in order, but I need to double check this at the end when I create my report. Okay, now I want to create a new field called volume. And that volume field is made by multiplying the thickness, the width, and the length. So back to my query. I'm going to right click in this next empty column. So these are all the items that I've added. I'm going to go to the next one that's empty. I'm going to right click on that first cell and I'm going to choose build. And now I need to find where the fields width, length and thickness are. And we know they're in this table here, in the boards table. So I need to open my database. There's the databases. There are my tables. I want the boards. There's the boards table. And here are the fields. So I want the thickness. Double click. Then I'm going to press the star key for multiply, width, multiply, length. And then click OK. Now I'm going to run this to make sure it's giving me something, so I'm not getting an error. And there we are. And it's got the name EXPR1, which I don't want. So I'm going to click here. I'm not going to delete that colon, just the EXPR1, the name, and I'm going to type volume. And then run again, make sure it works. There it is, volume. Go back to my question, and it says here that this field must be displayed to 3 decimal places. So from here, from my query in the design view, I'm going to right click properties. So if you don't have the properties here, again, right click properties, the properties bar opens. I'm going to go to the format. So if you were doing currency, for example, you can choose currency if you want a number, but what I want to do is to make it fixed. So I fixed it to 3 decimal places. Run that, and there we go. I've got 3 decimal places. Great. Okay, so that's that part, and that part. Shows only the records where ready is no and sold is yes. So ready is no and sold is yes. Okay, so from here, I'm now going to go to my table and go back to design view, here my query, and I want to go find the ready. Where are we? The ready is no. Now, because from my table, when I created it, this is a Boolean expression. So it takes yes, no, or whether it's ticked or not ticked. And I can, if I were true, false, basically it's a true, false. So I can do this. Have a look. I can either type, so if I run this first to see what I get, in ready, you see you get yes and no. So I can either type no, and that will display all the ones where it's no. But equally, if I had a checkbox, for example, then yes and no might not work. I could type false, because false is actually no. And again, you will see you only show the ones that are no. So whether you write true, false, yes, no, it's really the same thing. So I'm going to leave it as no because I've set this up as a text, which is yes and no. And just so it's easier for me to relate what I've typed here and what I see here being the same, I prefer to do that. And the sold is yes. Okay, so only the ones where ready is no and sold is yes. Okay, and then has all data. And so this is all the query. Can you see when we analyzed what we were going to do, we saw that from this section here, we said that the query section is only these 3 units here. So I'm going to go ahead and save my query. So from here, I'm just going to click and go to File, just click on Save, and I'm going to save my query as Q30, 30 being the question number that I'm working on, and click OK. And I'm just going to give that a quick run and make sure everything works perfectly. So ready is no, sold is yes. Great. Okay, now we're going to create our report. So I can close my query. And now I'm going to open my report section. So I need to create a report by going to create report using the wizard. Okay, now the first thing that we need to do is be careful that we select our query. We want to create a report based on the query we created, Q30. So I'm going to select Q30, and I'm going to add all the fields. And from here, I mean, if they weren't in the right order, I can add them one by one, so it adds them in a particular order. I'm going to cancel that, create query report wizard, because I added everything in the right order already when I was creating my query. And you can check here, the milled location board ID is the same as the order I'm supposed to have here, milled location board ID and the rest of them. So I'm going to continue from there. I'm going to add everything and then click on next. Now I need to decide how my report is going to display the information. I'm going to show you what this looks like at the end, but you can, for example, have the year milled, the location, the tree type, in other words, based on the fields in this table at the top and have the information at the bottom. You could have it by the locations table, then the other table, and then the information at the bottom. I'm going to choose this one, which basically shows all the data on every record. And this is the one that you really want to choose for this particular question, unless you're asked to display it differently. Next, I don't want to do any grouping, and I'm going to go to next, and I want to add my sorting here. So the sorting, it says, we want to have a look here. So sorts the data into year milled, then by location, then by board ID, and all of them in ascending order, all three fields in ascending order. So milled, location, board ID. So I'm going to go to milled, year milled, location, and then by board ID. So this is going to sort it first by this field, then by this one, then by this one, and all by ascending. If I want descending, I simply click and I can toggle between that. Next, I want to check and make sure, do I want portrait or landscape? It actually says here has a page orientation of landscape. So I need to change that to landscape. I'm going to go to next and then preview my report, finish. And this is what my report looks like. And you can see some of these fields are not complete because these numbers are showing hashtags and some of the labels are chopped. I'm going to repair that in a minute. So what I'm going to do is just have a quick look and see that looks okay. I'm going to click close print, preview, and now I'm in the design view. So now from here I can go to see what my report looks like and then toggle back to the design view. So from here I'm going to have a look at what's being chopped off. I always start from the very left side. So here the word milled year is being chopped, and you can see that there, and the location. So I need to fix this one and then move accordingly towards the right, one by one. So I'm going to do some of these so you can see. I'm going to click and drag over these two so I can change their size at the same time. Then I'm going to use the control button to select these two, make these just a bit smaller, and I just want to have the first fields to be fully visible first. Okay, and that, look, just a little bit more, that year, it needs to come over just a little bit, but that's a mark lost. There, no, not yet. Let's just go to there and just drag that a little bit more. There we go. Okay, and that one's full. Now location, I can see some of my data has been chopped off. Border ID is very wide and it doesn't need to be. So I'm going to make that smaller. I'm going to make these a bit bigger until I can fit everything in. And I'm just going to carry on like this until everything fits in tight and snug without chopping anything off. Okay, so I'm just going to continue with that and I'll be back once I've finished with that. Okay, I've done some of these here already. I'm going to fast forward the rest of this in the video. So I'll just continue with this. Okay, there we go. So I've got everything here displayed. Nothing is being chopped off. So I'm going to go all the way to the bottom, make sure everything looks nice, neat. And there we go. Perfect. So now I can move on. Now from here, I want to make sure all data labels are fully visible. I've just done that bit. Landscape fits on a single page wide. It does. That's one page. And if I want to double make sure that that is one page wide, I can go to File. From here I can go to Print, And just have a look at the print preview, and there it is there. You can see that fits nicely on one page wide. Okay, close the print preview. Now we're going to go look at what else we have to do. So from here, we now want to have a look at calculate the total value of the selected boards by multiplying the price field by the volume. Now, this we need to be a little bit careful about. So I'm going to show you a couple of techniques you can do before we build up to creating our own calculated field. So from my database, there, I am going to go to the design view. Now, if I want to show a list, a count of how many records there are, then I can click on any one of these. Now, not the labels at the top, the headers. We want these things here, the details ones. So if I right click, for example, on sold. Now from here I can go to totals. I think that's off my screen there, so I'm going to just bring this up just a little bit so you can see that. So if I go to right click, sold, total, now it's just about off the screenshot, so I'm going to move this up. Give me a second. So if I just drag that over here, and then right click on sold, is that going to show? Just about there. So you can see that I can do count records, and if I click on count records, what that will do, that's going to count how many records there are, in other words how many rows I've got in my database, and it's going to put this in the report footer. Let me just expand that a little bit there. Okay, and basically that's counting star, counting everything. Okay, now if I wanted to sum to give, so if I, let me just show you what that looks like. If I go to the bottom now, that tells me how many records are here, 52 records. Okay, so let me go back to design view. Another way of doing this, if I delete that, is if I go to, from here I'm gonna, if I go to click on sold, and up here you've got your totals. You can also do that from here, so you can do sum, count records, so on and so forth. So if I go to price, which is something I can add, I can then go to my total and say sum, and that will show me the calculated field here, and that is, look at the feature here, it's equals sum, the function sum, brackets, and then the field name, the name of the field price in square brackets. Okay, so you can type this out manually if you want, and then you can put, for example, a text box saying this is the sum. Now you want a not a text box, a label, my apologies. So this will be sum of price. Now it hasn't asked me to do this, it's just as an example for you. So let me just move that up, and that will display at the bottom a sum of price, and this is the sum of all of the price field here, from here all the way down to the bottom. It adds all of these together. All right, so what our example wants us to do is this. So let's just bring the question up. The question says we want multiply the price field by the volume. So we want to do the total. The total is going to be the sum of the price field multiplied by the volume. So I need to do this. I'm going to either type this out manually, but the easiest way to do it is right click on price, or select the price. It's easy if you see it from here. Go to totals and do sum. Now this is going to give me the sum of only the price field. Now here, before we close the brackets, the rounded brackets for sum, I'm going to put times, and I'm going to use the same format. Let me just bring this over. Okay, I want to multiply the price by the volume field. So I want square bracket, volume, square bracket. So that's going to do, let's expand that a bit more. There you go. So it's going to add the total of the price multiplied by the volume and add all of them together. And that's going to look like this. So it's going to do this one times this one plus this one times this one plus this one times this one. And at the bottom, you're going to have this running total. There's your total there. Okay, so that's all of these, the price multiplied by the volume added together. Okay, so let's go back. and we want this displayed below the price column, and it should be displayed as currency and the same currency as your price field. So I haven't put that, I'll do that now. So my price field here is pound, so I'm going to right click, let me go to my design view, and I'm going to right click on that. There's my properties there, so I can choose the properties, it's already there. I'm just going to open that up, and I'm going to go to format, let's expand that a bit more, format currency. Okay, and it's the pound symbol just like the other ones. So now that is formatted. I'm going to put it underneath the price field, so there. I'm going to run this once, have a quick look at it. Okay, is it under the, no, it's actually under the volume field because it's aligning to the right, so I need to adjust that. So it's very fiddly and very easy to lose marks, so you have to pay attention to detail here, guys. So I'm going to bring this all the way down to there, so I have this side lined up with the price, and that should work now. There you go, right underneath the price field, and it's got the same formatting, and it should have a label, value of this stock. So I'm going to put a label there as well. Go back to design view, and I'm going to, let me get rid of the properties to give me a bit more window. I'm going to click away, and I'm going to add a label, not a text box, a label. Value of this stock, and just to make sure that works. Now if you add a text box by accident, and let's say we did this, I did a text box and I wrote here value of this stock in the label, because it's a text box and it's expecting you to type something in here, you're going to get, when you try and run this, you probably get an error message. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't, but you see you got this box here, it's expecting you to type something. So you don't want to add that, we'll just get rid of it. Okay, what else is left? Includes the report title, sold timber in store. Up here. Sold timber in store. Now I've probably, no, that's correct. Capital letters, small letters, exactly the same. Has your name, center number, and candidate number set to appear on each page. That means that needs to be in the page footer, not the report footer. So here's the page footer. I'm going to delete one of these because I don't need these. I'll just get rid of them. I'm going to put a new label. I'm going to put this in the center. I can delete that one as well. I don't need that one. And where's my label? Add a label somewhere in the middle there. And I'm going to type my name. Center number CY127 and the candidate number 1234. And have a quick look. File, print preview, print, and go to a quick print preview. There's my report. Okay, now I need to make sure this is in the center. I didn't do that very well, but you get the idea of it. So that's basically my report with quite a complicated little calculated field at the end. Now can you see I've actually got a little bit of my report coming over to the next page. Now that's not a problem because this is a blank page. I can just show that one page at the end. Okay, but that's about the gist of it. Actually I've got, where it's giving me some blank pages there, so let me go all the way to the end. There you go, and there's my last one. So if I want to get rid of these blank pages, I just need to go, and it's good that these little errors come up because you know how to fix them now. So if I go to my design view, it just basically means that I've gone a little bit too far over in my margin. So I need to close that a little bit there, and let's see what that looks like. Let's go to report view, and then go to file, print, and print preview, and now there you go, only 3 pages. Can you see? So I'm not bleeding into the other page. Although it was a blank page, I can get rid of it or get away with it. That's just a fix. Just make sure that the margins fit. Okay, and in my report footer I've got this, and on every page in the middle I've got my details. Well, not exactly the middle, I need to move that a little bit, don't I? But anyway, there you go.